I guess I'll miss knowing that he was always there when I wanted him with a problem, and knowing that he would listen and be able to advise, and he knew who to talk to and how to talk to them. So and he could be a real diplomat in that sense in problem solving. So I really miss that.
A story from 2009 illustrates, I think, something special about Robert, and I'll miss this. His consideration and care for other people. In 2009, I had a funny episode. My heart went into arrhythmia, and I was sent off to Bath by the medical team here at the festival. And Val came with me in the ambulance. It was a Saturday, and I was gutted. I was going to miss Bruce Springsteen, so it appeared. We were in the hospital, and who should appear but Robert? He'd obviously left the site, leaving God knows how many other jobs he should have been doing at the site to come and make sure I was okay and to make sure that Val got back to the site safely. And off they went eventually, and apparently it took them ages because neither of them knew exactly the best way back from Bath to the site. But hey, Robert was just so considerate, and I know to so many people he is that considerate and caring person. Always an ear to listen to what you've got to say, the problems that you might have.
What am I going to miss the most about Robert? Well, I'm going to miss Robert's generosity. I spent most time with him at his home in London that he shared with Anne-Marie. Robert was a superb host, complimenting Anne-Marie's skills in the kitchen with being generous with the spirits behind the bar, serving up numerous rounds of excellent but lethal cocktails. But he was also generous in that he devoted time and attention to all of his guests, really listening and caring about your responses to his questions. It was an honour to have been in your orbit, Robert.
I miss him turning up on the Greenpeace field with Prince Charles or the Dalai Lama and wondering, my goodness, who's going to come next? So that was always a thrill.
Honour the man. What a great thing to say. My name's Michael Christensen, and I just want to say a few words about Robert. I met him in 2012, which is 10 years ago, and he had the difficult job of trying to negotiate with all the different landlords around, and I was one of them. It was a challenging time to start with, but as time went by, I learned to respect him as a person and his difficult job to try and find middle ground between two parties. Not an easy job. But he did it well, and he had a talent for doing that.
We were going to build a dairy empire together over the next few years. But it's funny, isn't it, that even though we've only known each other for a very short period of time, I feel like I've known Robert for years.
I'll miss Robert because he was very easy to deal with. He was straight talking, and you knew where you stood with him.
Oh, Robert. Oh my gosh. We really navigated some tricky waters together, you and I, and with great love and friendship.
What do you miss most about Robert?
Many things, but the things I can remember the most are his wafting into the office whilst on the phone and wafting back out again. The Sunday afternoon drinks where he would take us down to cocktail bar when we shut the office. His incredibly dry sense of humour and wit. We'd often joked about the most ridiculous things. And finally, his cocktail making skills. Absolutely incredible. R.I.P. Robert.
I'll miss those fights that we had about some of the environmental things, but he was good with that when he took on a challenge, like even silly things like what was the best ice cream to sell, and how we could stop Coca-Cola from bringing all that plastic onto the site. And he won those things. He was kind of, he was tireless when it came to taking on the challenge and winning it. And yet he was an introvert, really, I think, because he never claimed the credit for things. He didn't want the limelight.
Robert didn't really see problems. His eyes were generally fixed on the end goal, and he'd worked to overcome pretty much any obstacles that were put in place to reach that end goal. It wasn't just what Robert achieved though that made him unique, it was how he delivered what he did. He was an absolute gentleman who commanded the utmost respect from everybody who knew him. Nothing was ever a problem for Robert.
This is my happy memory of Robert. So in the background you can probably see the shed. It's my sewing shed, and that's where I worked with Robert, where I first met him and worked with him for a year, along with the rest of the Glastonbury Town Deal support team from Mendip District Council, while we wrote the town investment plan for Glastonbury. He was such a wise and empowering individual, and he gave us the confidence to develop the projects with the community that needed to be developed. But he was also great fun. And I can't walk into the shed now without thinking of him and remembering those great times.
I hate being told off so much, and you were the one that told me off, but you did it in a beautiful way, and I always did what I was told.
I remember one time where I got a call from you that I thought was you saying, "What's up?" in a kind of Budweiser style way, but actually you were saying, "What's up? What the hell are you doing? What's editorial doing at The Guardian, creating hordes of people trying to discover mystery bands on mystery stages that didn't actually exist?"
We worked together for over 15 years, and during that time, he managed to combine the commercial interests of the festival whilst maintaining its core principles and values.
Robert always came with a huge smile, and you couldn't ever take that away from his positivity that he came with, and that is one of the big things I will miss for sure. I will miss this exceptional man, and he will be a tough act to follow.
I never say no to you. Even that time you told me to not do something that I'd been working on for a year that was funded tens of thousands of pounds by the Arts Council, but would have annoyed the BBC, and you said no, and I said, okay, fine. Anyway, and that year I said no, and you said, and I explained why, and you said okay, and we just worked it out.
I always appreciated his honesty and directness, and knowing if there was a problem, he would tell you without any hesitation whatsoever. I spent regular evenings in the Natterjack with Robert, also in the local Indian restaurants, the old bakehouse in Castlecarry for lunch. You know, really good times, and I will miss his gripping stories from Central America. You know, such entertainment. I was also very admirable of his fierce loyalty to Michael and everything to do with the festival, whether it be the extravaganza and Pilton Party also. But what I'll miss most of all, I think, is the unerring support that I've had from him over the last 10 years. Rest in peace, Robert.
And you know, like a policeman, when you just instantly feel guilty, you could never say to Robert, "I'm fine, I'm good," because he would smoke you out. And he always wanted to know how you really were and what your truth was, and that would inevitably lead into a zeitgeist conversation about the world in which we live, which would then obviously lead to saving the planet and packaging and all the great stuff that we want to get on with together. So Robert, I'll miss you dearly.
Robert has touched the lives of thousands and made a positive impact in all of those lives. A true role model of professionalism and kindness. Robert, it has been an honour, and you will be greatly missed.
And you know, mostly I miss that we had each other's backs, and you know, and we're both pulling in the same direction and trying to do the same things. That was a really special time, and your support was amazing.
I don't know if many people know of your complete and utter dedication and loyalty to the festival, to Michael, to Emily, to everybody, to even down in the lower echelons, like I say, the people you gave time to.
So Robert came to America, as you guys like to say. We have been in the US for a good 300 years, but anyway, he would speak at my conference, and every year he was amazing. He just couldn't do enough. And I'd say, go get something to eat. And then, of course, that time I insisted he'd get food poisoning, so maybe that wasn't a great idea. He mentored everyone. He listened to everyone. He counseled everyone. He really represented the best of Glastonbury and the best of his humanity and all that he did. And I missed him terribly, and we all missed him terribly. But I think I want to share with you, most importantly, this picture of Robert that shows who he really is. We love you, Robert, and we'll miss you always.
But I guess at the end of the day, what I'll miss most is his friendship. I felt a real friendship there, and I'll miss that. But I'll be thinking of him as we move ahead, and he'll be in my thoughts for forever. And I'll be finding myself saying, what would Robert do about this? And sadly, he won't be there to answer that, but he'll be in my thoughts. Yeah.
I really, really miss him. But I also don't, because I feel him here. And I'm still going to talk to him. And I wish he was actually on the other end of the phone, that I could call him and that he could still mentor me. But he's on the other end of my brain and on the other end of my heart. And I'm going to still keep talking to him.